So our next speaker hails all the way from Melbourne, Australia. Tom Coleman, core engineer here at MDG. You may also recognize him of Discover Meteor fame, who he was the co-author of probably the most popular book written about Meteor. And you'll be talking about how the community can help contribute to Meteor, something that we've been working on quite a bit over the past months, and how people can help out with the upcoming 1.4 release. With that, welcome, Tom.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, hi everyone. It's great to be back here in the Meteor HQ and talking at Meteor Night. It used to be called Dev Shop last time I was here. Today I should introduce myself a little more. I'm a member of the Meteor team. And today I want to talk to you about contributing to Meteor, how you can help. And actually today's talk is really a call for help, because the basic reason that I want to ask for help is that as the community grows in Meteor, we just have more and more people using the platform, and it's great. But a result of that is more and more people require help with the platform, and we're a small team, so we need to get better at enabling the community to help each other. Therefore, our ability to help people grows with the community alongside the amount of help that's needed. So I think, just to begin with, I think it's fair to say that the Meteor community is really incredible. Things like forums, the help people give on Stack Overflows, the amazing amount of meetups we have around the world, events like tonight. In sort of the non-technical ways, I think we're second to none. It's incredible, the Meteor community. But I think historically it's fair to say that contributing technically to the Meteor platform has not been as easy as it could have been. And that's especially when you compare it to sort of really successful open source communities like Linux or Node itself. And we haven't made it easy enough, and this is something that we're really actively trying to work on. So one thing that we've done recently to try and change that is a Meteor guide, and I'll tell you a little bit about how that's gone and what we've seen as a result of that and what we've learned as a result of that. And it's been a great success. I mean, that's the TLDR. And we really want to bring some of those lessons and some of that culture of helping and of contributing and making a difference to core Meteor, to the framework that you probably use every day. And we know that people want to help. People have wanted to help and do help. As we saw, Ben showed us a moment ago, some people making some amazing contributions to make his job of upgrading the Node version easier. But we want to make it easier to help, and we want to make it easier to help in more ways. So you don't have to necessarily be digging into the internals of our use of Node deep in the build tool, which isn't necessarily the easiest thing to do, but you can still make a really positive difference to the Meteor core platform. And so 2 ways that I'll talk about doing that. The first is the docs, helping us improve the docs, and another is issues, and by that I mean the GitHub issues that come in and are created. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But first I'd like to talk about the guide. So this is the guide here. And if you've been watching or attending Meteor Night, you will have heard about the guide, because Sashko has been up here talking about it since the very beginning, since it was a twinkle in our eye, because we made a really conscious effort from the very beginning of our development of the guide to do it in the open with your help, the community's help. And that, in a sense, was kind of had its challenges, because part of the intention of the Meteor guide, which, if you haven't heard of the Meteor guide, it's a set of, it's sort of like an intermediate level set of guidelines about how to go about building a Meteor app. So it's not documentation in the sort of pure API sense, it's more, if you're building an app, these are the things you're probably going to need to know. And there was a challenge, and there was a lot of decisions to be made in writing the guide, because one of the main goals of the guide was to present a consistent, complete set of opinions about which community packages to use. And along the way in doing that, we had to make some calls about, yeah, let's recommend this one over that one. Yet we were able to make those decisions, and I think we made those decisions in the best possible way that we could because of the openness. So we could have gone and sat in a room for weeks or months by ourselves, scared of getting anyone saying anything about the choices we were making because we knew we'd make people angry, and then come out with a complete, finished product. But instead, we made those decisions out in the open, and as a result, we got to hear about all the wrong decisions we were making along the way. And we didn't always change our mind, but I think we had the best information that we could get. And the most important thing about the guide, in terms of community, was this little red link up there that you can just about see that says edit on GitHub. And what that means is that people can make changes to it. They can send us pull requests. And for those of you that don't know, a pull request is a way of sending us, well, Ben's has been talking about them, but it's a way of sending us changes to things. And that can be changes to the code of the Meteor core tool, which Ben was looking at, or it can be changes to our documentation. And so what happened? Well, ever since the guide was launched at the start of the year, we've just seen a constant stream of pull requests. Here's a screenshot I took earlier today or yesterday, and you can see in the last week and a half, we've had a whole screen worth of pull requests. And most of these have been merged. The red ones haven't, for whatever reason. And they're not just all typo fixes and small changes. We've had some major contributions. So this is a pull request from Lauren Sands Ramshaw, which adds a whole section to the guide about how to override NPM packages with local versions if you want to do development on them, which was something that we just hadn't covered in the writing packages article. And this is just one of a few big contributions from Lauren. Here's another one from a user called Ski Run Man. I'm not sure what his real name is. I assume it's a him because it's a picture of a guy. And this one, again, of many, is really clarifying the app structure guide article and adding a whole section about how the automatic eager-loaded files work in Meteor apps, which we'd totally neglected to include in the article, which was a big oversight. And not just major contributions, but major contributors. You see these two names here in the top list of contributors to the guide since we launched it. And so that there's changes being made all over it. It's really, really amazing. And not only that, but we want to take it to the next level. So we want to make the guide not only contributed by the community, but also run more and more by the community. So Lauren has been good enough to volunteer to also help us maintain the guide. So if you go into the guide and click on one of those red make changes on GitHub buttons, you may find your pull request gets merged by Lauren. So that's great. So I think in terms of community contribution, the guide has been an unqualified success. And another small project that we've taken on recently that hopefully will also lead to similar levels of contribution are some changes to the docs. This is a fairly dry and technical change of switching the docs from a sort of arcane, hard to understand format to exactly the same format as the guide. So this is not yet complete. This is a screenshot of the new docs format. It's the same, and you'll see a launch of this in the next week or two. It's the same basic building blocks as the guide. This is a different skin. And all the Meteor docs will be there. And so hopefully it'll be just as easy for people to make pull requests against the docs and not only fix typos and resolve small problems, but make possibly larger changes like they have to the guide. So when you see this next week, you'll notice that there'll be an edit on GitHub button up there too, and hopefully it'll be just as easy to make changes to the docs. But the main thing I wanted to talk to you about tonight is issues. So GitHub issues. as I said at the start, Meteor keeps growing, the community keeps growing, and also the surface area of the actual framework keeps growing. And as a result, the amount of issue reports and pull requests that we get against the core framework grows with it. This is just a list in the last couple of days of all the issues that have been opened. And we haven't always traditionally been that great at dealing with this. So this is why I'm here to ask for help. I think we can, as a community, make this much, much better. And I think we can take the lessons that we've learned from the guide and bring that back to Meteor Core, which hasn't been the easiest thing to contribute to, and make Meteor Core a great thing to contribute to. And so the first step in doing that is making, is enabling everyone to help us deal with, help us triage issue reports. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that process and basically ask for people to come along and help us with that process. So we tend to find that issue reports basically fall into three main categories. There are either help questions that people have. I'm having trouble doing X with Meteor, or how should I do X with Meteor? They're bugs, so problems with the platform that people find, or they're feature requests. So I love Meteor to do Y. So how do we deal with, what is the process for dealing with the three of them? Well, help is easy. Some open source projects do have discussions and help questions in their GitHub repo, but we prefer not to. So mainly because we've got great other places to do that. So if someone comes and opens an issue which falls into this category, it's easy. We can close the issue and we can redirect the person to Stack Overflow if it's a question, or the forums if it's more of the sort of discussion, how should I do this? Stack Overflow can be quite strict about what kind of questions are asked, and our forums are great. So why not have the questions there? The next type of issue that we see, and the most obvious one that you would think of, is a bug. And the primary thing that we're interested in with a bug, to make it something that's concrete and dealable with, is a reproduction. So what is a reproduction? A reproduction is a clear set of steps, preferably a Git repo that we can clone and run Meteor against, that someone can follow to demonstrate the problem on their local machine. And the idea of having a clear repo, or the best thing about having a clear repo, is that when a pull request is submitted against this bug, it's very easy to verify that the pull request does what it claims and that it fixes the issue. Now, I know from experience that creating good, simple reproductions can be a lot of work. You know, you find a problem with the framework and you just want to write it down and let someone know. And going to all the effort of building like a simple example app that shows the problem can be a real pain. Why would you waste your time doing that? Well, there's some really good reasons to do that. So the first reason is that simplifying the problem down to its simplest possible core often makes the issue or the bug much clearer. And so by doing that, you're much likely that someone will be like, oh yeah, the problem is this, I can fix that in 5 seconds. Whereas if you submit a vague and hard to understand issue report, they will be like, well, I'm not looking at that, that's too hard. So you're much likely to get the help you actually want. The second reason is you may find that in pulling all the specific bits of your app out of the reproduction, that the issue goes away. So it may even be that the issue was in your app and not in the framework at all. And that's actually the best outcome for you because it's the easiest one for you to fix. You can just fix your app. So that's great when that happens, I tell you what. And the third reason is that sometimes when it is a legitimate issue, if you get the reproduction simple enough, that can be the basis of a test that's added to the framework's test suite, and that will make sure that that issue never happens again because we'll have a regression test suite and it just will never fail that test again. So you can see that there's some great reasons for a reproduction to exist against an issue. But getting a reproduction isn't always the easiest thing in the world, and people need help figuring out how to do that in some cases. So this is a really great chance for people to contribute. For people who are more knowledgeable about the framework, who have more experience creating reproductions, to help the creator of the issue build a nice, clear, simple reproduction. So the step for you, if you're interested in it being an issue triager, is does the bug have a reproduction? If not, work with the author to build one. Once the reproduction exists, can you confirm it? Can you run that reproduction on your local machine and see the problem for yourself? If so, we can classify the issue as a bug, and we can mark it as having a confirmed reproduction, and that's great. The idea being that non-trivial pull requests against the framework that fix bugs should always be attached to one of these issues that has been classified. That makes it so much easier to prioritize that pull request and to tell whether it's an actually useful thing that's worth merging. The final type of issue, and I guess the most controversial, are features. A feature request is someone saying, I wish Meteor would do X. And the thing about features is we want to avoid them where possible. That might sound a little bit counterintuitive, but adding more surface area to the framework doesn't help anyone. What is good is to make a package that other people can use to get the same functionality and to decouple things. So the first question to ask when a feature request comes in is, can this be done with a package? And that's not always, again, like everything, that's not always that obvious. And certainly to the submitter of the issue, who may, again, not be that knowledgeable about the framework and what capabilities it enables a package author to have, it may not be that easy for them to know, yes, this could be a package. So that's a really great way that people who are slightly more advanced with the framework can help feature requesters. If it can't be a package, is there some simple thing we can do to the framework that would mean it could be a package? So that's the next step. And if so, we should shut this issue and open a new one asking for that simple hook. And finally, if it's not possible, we should classify it as a feature and mark it. And that will make it much, again, if we have pull requests to the framework that are attached to features that are clear and simple and clearly justified, that'll make it much easier to evaluate those pull requests. And I think the important part of that sentence as well is the clear and simple part. So it's very easy to write a feature request that is vague and unmotivated. So a key part of the responsibility of the bug triager, the issue triager in dealing with a feature, is to try and simplify the description of the feature and to really tease out the motivation. Because at the end of the day, it's all about prioritization. So the better case that you make for your feature, the more likely it'll be prioritized. So we'd really love your help, and we really hope that people can come and make some great contributions in helping us triage issues. So there's a forum post, you'll see it because it's pinned on the forums, where some people have been talking about some of the details here, and we'd love you to come and tell us what you think, and volunteer if you like to get the correct access on the repo so that you can start triaging issues. You can expect to see a detailed write-up of exactly the details behind what I've been saying in the next week or two. And you can then start expecting new faces to appear on the repository if you just open issues and helping run this process. And the final thing I'll say on this is, in the weeks and months to come, expect to see more of this kind of thing. So this is really like a first step in the process of bringing a lot of these open source processes into the Meteor repository. So a lot of the successes that we've seen in the guide and in other open source communities come into the Meteor repository. So hopefully, if you're not interested in helping with issues, there'll be another way for you to help later on. But we'd love any type of help that you'd like to do, and I hope that you're excited to do so. So thanks.
Any questions for Tom?
So the question was, with GitHub issues for the forums and Stack Overflow, do we feel like we have all the tools that we need to deal with this, or do we wish there was more? I would say, certainly GitHub issues has issues that has been well publicised in the last month or two, especially at our sort of scale. But they're clearly making strides towards improving it right now. I think the forums are pretty great. Our discourse forums work pretty well. And Stack Overflow is Stack Overflow. I mean, I think it's a bit of a giant these days. So yeah, I think GitHub issues probably could be better, but I think there's signs that it's going in that direction. And at the end of the day, I don't think that is the problem that we're having. I think it's more of a process issue.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
First of all, Tom, thanks so much for building the atmosphere. I
Oh.
don't think I would have ever gotten as far as I had without it. My app has 37 packages for atmosphere, so it's saved me tons of time. Question about building packages. You had the can it be a package, but you didn't. What about should it be a package?
Should it be
core? How do you answer that question?
Should it be core?
Yeah.
Well, so the question is, rather than can it be a package, should it be a package? Should that be the first question? So I guess, did you mean should it be core? I mean, I think if it can be a package, it shouldn't be core. That's kind of.
Is that a binary, like always true?
I mean, I'm sure there are exceptions to any rule, but that's the basic rule. There are questions of should something be a package is really in the eye of the beholder, though. I mean, yeah, if someone thinks something is useful, who are we to say that that's not the case, I suppose? Oh, and also, I shouldn't take the credit for Atmosphere. It was mostly built by other people, but thanks.
Thanks for the 1.3 guide. As far as getting help in figuring things out as they should be, are the books that were published prior to 1.3, are they to be ignored, or is there still value in older books on Meteor?
So the question is about, with the release of 1.3, are the books that were published before 1.3 still relevant, I suppose? I have a conflict of interest there, being the author of a book that was published before 1.3, but I'd say yes. I mean, there are certainly patterns in the guide that came with 1.3 around importing files and structuring your app that may not be followed as closely by books. So it may not be as simple as just purely doing everything that they say without consulting the guide. But I think what a book can offer is explanations of details of the framework and talking you through how to approach things in a way that the guide is possibly a little more intermediate than a book. So the book might be a good bridging thing between first learning Meteor and being at the point where you can really understand the guide and start applying those patterns. So
Anybody doing revisions, or are you doing revisions for 1.3, publishing the best practices?
I'm not complete. So the question is, are people doing revisions? Are we republishing? I'm not sure exactly what the picture is in general. We're certainly looking at it, but I'm not sure.
You said you published the book. Are you planning to update it?
Yeah, we are planning to publish it update it for 1.3, but I'm not sure when that will happen exactly.
We have a question coming in from the live stream from Merlin. I guess it's a question and maybe a request. All these great issue and feature triaging tips, are they going to make their way into some form of a template when you file a new issue on GitHub?
Yes. So I don't need to repeat that question. Yeah, we have a few ideas there. I'm not exactly sure. We do have a template already, but we'll iterate on that. We're also thinking of having a little sort of questionnaire workflow that you might follow when you first open the issue, but we haven't nailed down the details of that yet. But yeah, we'll do anything we can to make it easier for people, of course. Yeah.
Maybe just a link to this talk, too.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the house audience?
Does Meteor have any plans for a meteoric MongoDB University type arrangement as certifications and experience and like online coursework or anything like that are concerned?
The question is, does Meteor have plans for sort of a university certification, sort of like MongoDB University?
You could get online and get up to speed with MongoDB in intimate detail.
Probably Mark would be better off answering that, but I think we'd look for the community people to offer those sort of things. I don't think you'll see something like that.
Yeah, I think we've tried to surface the best of what the community has to offer, as opposed to trying to be a kind of one-stop educational arm. And certifications is something I think we're keeping an eye on based on the maturity, particularly among professional developers, the need for a certification. We understand there's career value and actual real business value. And then I think you'll hear from one of our other feature talks from a partner, OKGrow, who is actually offering Meteor training courses, and an excellent one at that. So I think we'll definitely try to curate the best materials that are out there and also recommend the best courses. But we ourselves at MDG probably not going to try to compete with our partners, for example, and offer first-party education. And with that, thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, everyone.